evening's programs. It's a beautiful afternoon in summer here, and I got something on my mind. Today I'm going to talk about violence, and not so much like the violence I would do as the violence that I have done and the violence that has been done to me. There ain't even that much of it, but I still think it amounts to some interesting stories to tell, so that's our subject for today. So going back about as far as it's reasonable to go, my history of violence is not much of one. I was a fairly timid boy. I wasn't as into sports as other kids. I wasn't very competitive. I didn't like to see people hurt. I had compassion. A great deal of compassion for anyone I saw in pain. But like other boys, I still had my moments, I'm sure, and there's probably things I don't remember, but I mostly fell in love with the idea of like warriors and ninjas and all sorts of stuff like that, you know, knights, all the things that little boys tend to gravitate toward. Anything that would let me hold a stick up and pretend it was a sword was fair game. But my first encounter with, I would say, post-pubescent violence would have been when I was going to a Catholic school in Sacramento, and probably in 6th grade, there was this boy that was kind of the dirty, grungy boy, and he was, you know, he didn't mind using roughhousing as a way of expressing himself, and I didn't appreciate that. So me and all the other boys in my class were out playing on the playground, and we were playing what was supposed to be touch football, and he got his blood up and knocked me on my ass, and I came up spitting out dirt, totally dirtied my school uniform. I was really, really pissed, and I saw red. First time I ever felt that kind of a reaction from somebody doing something aggressive toward me. And next thing I know, I went for him, and it took like 3 of my classmates to pull me off of him or stop me from getting to him. I don't remember which, but it was intense, and it was the first time I'd ever had anything like that happen to me, so I felt really weird about it afterwards, and I didn't like it. I did not enjoy feeling that feeling of wanting to hurt somebody, really hurt somebody. And I mean, my parents had never had anything like that in their lives. My dad was a quiet guy. He worked in an office and didn't really ever create the idea of aggression or not even standing up for yourself. He didn't talk to me about that kind of stuff or suggest that I would ever have called to act that way toward anyone. So I was kind of caught off guard myself, even though it was me doing it. So that experience stuck with me, and I stayed pretty quiet. So years later, after my family had moved away from there, I ended up getting into a situation where there were a couple of school bullies that I was put between to separate them from each other, and that really sucked. And I got picked on a lot through my middle school years and on into high school. Now somewhere in there, I ended up meeting, I had a group of friends, and my one buddy, he had a girlfriend, so he was like the cool guy amongst the group of friends, and that was his status symbol, was the geek that could get a girlfriend. So, at some point, after months of him dating her, she called me up out of the blue, and I really didn't know why. Like, what is going on that this girl has sudden reason to talk to me? So she asked me on the phone if I would come down and meet her was, but I figured I can take my bicycle down there and I'll go meet her. So I ride my bike down and I go meet her at the convenience store and I'm poking around. And she doesn't really have anything to say to me. Like, I can't get a reason out of her why she wanted to meet here. And it was really awkward. So I went on trying to talk to her and she's making small talk. And I see there's a couple of dudes there. Now one of the dudes is a cousin. This scrawny little shit that I already know is no good. You know, he's trouble. I know that nothing good can come of him being around here. And then he's got a big burly buddy. And I don't really know the other guy. And I have no idea why on earth they would want to hang around the convenience store. Like usually they'd be off, you know, stealing stuff from the neighbors out in the valley, or, you know, breaking things, whatever, but I figured, you know, hey, no big deal, nothing to do with me. Then she decides, like, hey, could you walk with me down to the old bridge? And so we head that way, and there's a bridge not too far from that convenience store, so I follow her out there, and we're talking, and she's still being kind of furtive, and won't really commit to a conversational topic. And I notice as we're going out there that the two dudes are following us. And we get to the bridge and she stops and I'm like, okay, this has gotten really weird. What's going on? She's like, oh, well, I guess I should probably go back and take my cousin home. So her little, like, this little girl was hanging out with her at the store. So she bails and turns around and goes back to the convenience store to get her little cousin and take her home or something. And I'm like, oh, what the hell? What is this crap that's going on? And the two dudes roll up on me and they start laying into me like, you think you're better than everyone? I'm like, what do you mean? Because I don't even know you guys. And all I'm doing is like walking my bike out here. I don't even know what's going on. And they have this whole, like, they've decided, even though they don't know me, that I'm that preppy kid that they have got a beef with, and they're gonna, you know, pick a fight with me. And they start talking about how they're gonna kick my ass. And I'm like, guys, what on earth do you think there is between us? And that doesn't matter at all. So I'm unprepared for the idea of this to escalate into actual violence. But if there's anything I've learned before that point, it was that you don't let anyone start a fight with you that you aren't prepared to finish. So as they're puffing up and starting to try and get into the whole, like, well, let's have a fight here, I'm thinking, step one, hit scrawny guy with bike. Take him out. And I'm like thinking, I'm gonna pick my bike up and literally throw it at him and hit him with the bike. Because I know that letting two guys fight me is just an awful idea. So, step two. The other dude, I already knew, he had gotten like burned on the legs or something, and he always wore big baggy pants so you couldn't see how badly his legs were hurt. So I figure, okay, step two, take out the big dude by hitting him in the knee or the legs, or do something to take him down so that he, you know, he goes down and can't fight, because he's got weak legs and, you know, burn injuries on his legs, so he's not going to be able to keep up a fight. And I am trying to work this all out in my head in the moment that I've gotten. I'm like, okay, then step three, probably gonna have to throw the little guy off the bridge. And it's not exactly like a big river down there. It's a stream with lots of rocks. So this is like crippling injuries I'm expecting to have to do to this guy, but I don't care. I'm not sticking around. So I figure, hit him with the bike, that'll take him down, knock the other one over, throw the little dude off the bridge, that should probably end the fight, run away on the bike, get on the bike and get the hell out of there. Now none of this ever ended up happening. Sorry to disappoint you, but that fight did not materialize. Because one of the neighbors from right next to there comes out of his house with a baseball bat, and he starts charging up with it, and they immediately like take off. Like, they don't even wait. They don't say, "You're lucky, we'll get you next time." It's just like, "Oh fuck," and they take off. And he comes to my rescue, and that dude saved my ass, because my plans probably were not gonna work out. So I thanked him profusely, and he told me that he'd seen them and they were troublemakers, and he couldn't prove it, but they probably stole stuff from his house, and he was waiting for them to come back around and cause trouble. So whoever that dude was, he'll probably never see this, but man, thank you. I did not need that kind of trouble in my life. I had enough problems at that age. So that is a time that violence came very, very, very close to happening, and I managed to pretty much avoid getting my ass handed to me by these two dudes. And they would have been really fucking disappointed, because I didn't have any money. There wasn't really anything in it for them. But that's a time that things almost came to blows. Now, I mentioned that I got picked on a lot in middle school. That actually did end up coming to blows much later down the road. Around the age of about 17, I was finishing up high school. I had filled out a lot in terms of size, and one of the two dudes that liked to pick on me, he ended up being right outside the small town library that I was going to pick up some magazines and books or whatever I was reading at the time. And he decides that he is gonna like go off at me about how, "Hey, aren't you that faggot we used to pick on back in middle school?" And I'd had quite enough of being picked on at that point, and I knew that I was not a small guy. So he made a big mistake that day, and I kind of sucker punched him and pulled his shirt over his head and bent him over, and then I think I kneed him in the stomach or something, so I left him on the ground. Like, you might want to think about who you pick on, because you never know who's going to decide to fight back. And I went into the library, and when I came back out, he was long gone, so I never heard from him again. I moved away for college, and yeah, that is my, the closest I ever came to youthful indiscretions, and really, I can't say that guy didn't deserve it. So that's really it for violence for me. Once I got to be an adult, I pretty much didn't have any run-ins with the law or anything. Like, I didn't do anything to hurt anybody or get myself hurt. And it wasn't until some years later, after I finished college, that I ended up getting into doing boffer fighting and then armored combat, and now I sword fight for fun. So yeah, I'm interested to hear what other people have in terms of, you know, youthful indiscretions and the sort of things they had to put up with from bullies, your own violent past. Talk about it in the comments, and give me video replies if you got them. I hope you enjoyed this. If you got questions, ask them.